What really happened to Jean-Luc Picard after Nemesis? And what is the story behind the mission that would change Picard forever? Hello everyone and welcome to Discussing Trek, and we'll be talking about IDW's Picard Countdown #1, written by Kirsten Bayer and Mike Johnson. To be clear, we do see Federation Ambassador to Vulcan Picard in the previous IDW Countdown series to the 2009 Abrams film, so we don't know how much of the story will remain in canon. But here, in Picard Countdown #1, we dabble a few years prior to that time frame, where we see an Admiral Picard is playing a very different role. Both of these stories deal with preparations for the impending Hope star supernova. In 2386, we see two Romulans at the Picard family vineyard, a woman named Laris and a man named Zahan. Although the two don't feel completely welcome there on Earth, they speak of beginning again. "We owe the man who risked everything for us," declares Laris. Next, we're taken 1 year prior to the Federation shipyards at Utopia Planitia, where we see Commander Jordan LaForge leading operations to build a new fleet of ships meant to save the Romulan people that are currently trapped within the Hobus blast radius. Although things are moving ahead of schedule, the commander knows they are up against a clock that they cannot see. If we were to compare this to the Star Trek Countdown series in 2009, a retired LaForge built the jellyfish ship used by Spock in the 2009 Star Trek film. LaForge receives an incoming transmission from the USS Verity, a transmission sent from none other than Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. Although happy to see the progress made, Picard states that the survival of the Romulan people is in the hands of LaForge, and that the mission is at a critical phase. This is only partly true, as building a massive transportation fleet in record time is only a portion of the task ahead. The other, maybe even more painstakingly difficult part, is working with the extremely secretive Romulan Senate to negotiate the evacuations. The Federation would not have even known about the crisis but for intercepted communications, which coerced the Romulan admission, and then the Senate's eventual acceptance of Starfleet's help. Again, a bit of retconning. In a 2009 Countdown book, Ambassador to Romulus Spock is the one who discovered the ensuing supernova and alerted the Romulan people. Back to the Picard Countdown. The evacuation has been 4 years in the making, and several endangered worlds have been evacuated, but trust between the Federation and the Romulan people has remained tepid at best. Scanning of worlds is blocked and forbidden, preventing the Federation from getting a full scope of required efforts. Picard resolves to accept the realities of working with the Romulans, embracing the Federation's role as humble guests. Aboard the Verity, we are introduced to Picard's first officer, Lieutenant Commander Rafi Musiker, whom, before becoming Picard's first officer, was Starfleet's foremost officer on Romulan affairs. As an aside, the relationship between the two is somewhat playful, as Musiker refers to Picard as JL, stating that formality is the enemy of efficiency. The USS Verity is diverted to Yuyat Beta by Starfleet, a colony at the edge of the projected Hobus blast zone, where they are told about 10,000 evacuees are waiting. Picard and Musiker beam down to the planet. They are told by the Major Domus that unlike most colonies, this colony takes liberties with tradition, and Picard and Musiker will be unencumbered in their view of the colony. Governor Shia greets the guests, hailing Picard as the hero of the Federation, vanquisher of traitor Shinzon, and the savior of the Romulan people. Picard begins his tour with the colony, assessing the situation on the ground. He discovers that Yuyat Beta is a small agricultural colony, one that takes pride in its achievements of exports, far exceeding its output compared to larger imperial worlds. Picard's tour takes him to a vineyard, which fills him with joy as he reminisces of home. But as Picard begins to tell the story of his family back on Earth, he notices an unknown native species working in the fields, a native species that constitutes more than 5 million on Yuyat Beta. The Romulans see the species as primitives and have not included them in their evacuation efforts, a notion that Picard finds appalling. Picard states that the Federation effort includes saving every advanced life form, not just the Romulans. Picard also stresses the jump in numbers will hamper relocation efforts, and they have not planned for such a massive evacuation. How many more sentient species have the Romulans failed to inform the Federation? Back at the Governor's Palace, Picard iterates the efforts to save all sentient life to Governor Shiana, who insists the Admiral is overreacting. Shiana states that the Federation is there by the grace of the Romulan Senate, and forcefully iterates that he has no power there. Picard, willing to make no compromise, refuses to evacuate anyone unless accommodations can be made for the entire Yuyat Beta population, to which the Governor then takes Picard and Musiker into custody, stating that the two cannot leave the planet until the Romulan people have secured safe passage. We end with Picard and a Romulan cell, lamenting the righteousness of his cause, and the hard work over the last few years may be all for naught. All in all, I really enjoyed this comic. It gave a nice intro to what I'm hoping is going to be a very exciting story. Now, when it comes to talking about these IDW comic series, we hope we get a lot of meat on the bone, but that's not always the case. But in this case, since we have a Star Trek Picard series debuting in less than a few weeks, I really hope they wrap it up and give us something that really gets us excited for the new upcoming series. What do you think of this story? Please leave questions or comments below and leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, folks, live long and prosper.